So let's go cap. There we go. Got an end in there now. Go out of border mode, select the bottom half of the plinth, select border, and there we are, we have that border selected. Click on cap, and there we go, we have an end to the table. So there we go, that's pretty cool. We now have a broken plinth. Obviously it's hanging in midair, so I'm going to use rotation just to model that around a little and put it on the floor. So we'll go like this a little bit. We'll rotate it a little bit here to make it a little bit more organic. I'm just going to move it over here slightly, and then I'm going to put it down on the ground. There we go. That's pretty good. It's resting on the ground quite well. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this part of the table. Just rotate this round a little. Let's try and give it a nice flat face to lie on. There we go. And we'll move this over here, and let's rotate it around a little bit more. It should probably actually be resting a little bit more like this, and then let's try and place it on the floor and see if it sits correctly. There we go. You can see that's going through the floor. This half isn't, so it needs to be rotated a little bit more. There we go. Put it down onto the floor. Oh yeah, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. So there we go. We've got our fully formed plinth here, and we've got our broken plinth here. So we're getting a little bit more of a sort of ruined feeling. Now to add a little bit of sort of, you know, Indiana Jones glamour to the scene, I'm going to have a burning ball fly through the scene later and smash the teapot off the top of the plinth and knock the plinth over. So what we need is a cylinder, and that will become our rope, and on the base of that cylinder I'm going to put a sphere, and that's going to be our flaming ball. And I'm going to add particles to it and try and get that to look a little bit like flame, to make it look a little bit more interesting when we do the final render. So let's go to the creation panel, standard primitives, cylinder, and let's create a cylinder which is the right kind of dimensions for a piece of rope. So I'll make it quite thin, and then we'll make it pretty tall. Let's have a look at that. It's not too bad. It's maybe, you know, a little bit too thick, so let's turn off wireframe here, and let's make that a little bit thinner. There we go. And the height is, I think it's fine actually, but I'm going to move it up into the air. There we go. I'm going to rotate it round. I'm going to turn on angle snaps, which at the moment is set to 5 degrees. So let's just rotate that round. There we go. And I'm going to move that to the correct kind of height, so that it gives a little bit of room for the sphere to be hung underneath. There we go. That's pretty cool. The last part is, it's actually got some subdivisions on its height. You can see it's got a subdivision there, but later I want to actually bend it to make it look a bit more realistic when it's swinging. So I'm going to give it a few more subdivisions in its height. So it's got 5 at the moment, so let's put that to 15. I think that should be fine. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a geosphere on the base, on the end of this rope, and make it large enough so it actually hits the teapot and let's say grazes the table. So let's create geosphere, turn on auto grid. There you can see we're conforming to the cylinder. Go to the tip and create a sphere. Now you can see at this point it's actually creating the sphere, and the pivot of the sphere is actually in the center of it. I don't actually want that. I want the pivot of the sphere to be at its base. So I'm going to turn on base to pivot and do that again. There we go. And that's actually much more like what I want. The scale, the radius isn't quite there yet, so I'll modify that. And there we are, just about hits the plinth. I think that'll be just about right. Turn off auto grid, and we'll make it a little bit more detailed. We'll increase the segmentation, so it's a little bit of a better sphere. And while I'm at it, I'll do the same thing for the teapot. because at the moment it's actually quite crude segmentation on it. You can see I'm having problems selecting that teapot, so very quickly I'm going to freeze that sphere, select the teapot, and increase the segmentation as well. There we go. So that's actually a much nicer teapot. I'm going to go to the display panel now, and using the freeze options I'm going to unfreeze by hit. So click on the sphere, that's unfrozen, and there we go. So cool, we have the basis of our scene, and now it's actually time to move on to our next section, where we will apply modifiers to our objects and actually animate the scene.